Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kendra Saunders. If this is your first time on my channel, I am the author of the Alien Pop Star series. I am the creator of Half Lucid Jewelry, like this piece that I'm wearing right now that actually belongs to a friend of mine. I'm not quite finished making it yet, but I'm giving a little test run in this video. And I'm also a YouTuber here talking about life in New York and life living with severe allergies, and also about fun nerdy things that I enjoy, which usually ends up being sci-fi related. So today we're going to be talking about Star Wars though, and I'm actually planning to do like several Star Wars videos, but this is the first one that I thought I should do just because it is like, you know, the most timely of all of them right now, and just because I need to talk about this. Before we go any further, I do want to just say there will be spoilers about the Rise of Skywalker, so if you have not seen the movie and care to see the movie and care about spoilers, you have been warned. Please proceed no further and don't get mad at me about spoilers. But as long as you're good with that, yeah, let's just get our porgs and continue. So I talked about in the video I did about The Mandalorian, about how I have been a Star Wars fan since I was 10. I was, you know, super into like the expanded universe. I read all the books. I watched the original movies over and over and over and over and over again. And I, you know, stayed with the series and kept up with things up until probably when I was like maybe 17 or 18. It was around the time that I sort of started checking out a little bit more. And then by the time the prequels were over, I sort of started feeling a little left behind by the fandom. That definitely increased as the internet got more popular, and I had, you know, my own issues with just like having a bad memory and not being able to like remember all of the little facts that are so important to a lot of Star Wars fans. And, you know, all the like really random stuff like what was this TIE fighter's name and what planet was he from? I don't know. Like, have you ever had a job? Like we can't always remember everything. But that being said, I kind of pulled back a little. And then when the new series came out, I remember being just like really excited about the fact that they were making new movies, especially about the fact that the original cast was going to be in these. Princess Leia has been like my greatest hero since I was a little kid. It was her and Stevie Nicks. Like those are my OG girls. You know, they both were like the two independent sides of me that even as a child I already appreciated and loved so much. You know, Stevie Nicks was magical and fabulous and ethereal, and then Princess Leia was like this down-to-earth awesome girl who's just like out there doing her thing. And I loved Princess Leia so much. So I was very excited when I found out they were going to be doing these sequels, and I went into the first one expecting to like it, and I did. I liked it. You know, I cried and I had a good time, and I relived the nostalgia, which I understand was the purpose of the first one, of The Force Awakens. It was supposed to be nostalgic. That's what people wanted and expected from it. And it was interesting that after that though, there was so much pushback, and there were so many people that were like, oh, you know, we don't just want to see the same Star Wars movie again. Like, forget the nostalgia. We want to see something new and different. And there was definitely a divide between the people who were like, no, this is exactly what I want from Star Wars, and the people that were like, no, I want something new and different. I want, you know, I want surprises. I want subversion. So I think that part of the response to that was the fact that Rise of Skywalker was the way it was. And it is no surprise to anyone who's known me at all in the last few years that I was not a fan. I tried so hard to like the movie. The first time I saw it, I actually was like held up on my way to the theater by like the train, you know, breaking down or something. And I got there late and I had to sit in the front row, and anybody who's ever sat in the front row of like a packed movie theater knows how uncomfortable that is. There was nobody else in the row besides me though. Like I was the only idiot that was stuck in the front row. So I actually like laid down across two chairs so that I could see better. And I still couldn't see very well. And I kind of attributed not really loving the movie to that. The first time I saw it, I was like, it's probably just because I was uncomfortable. And I remember, like, for instance, the scene with Kylo Ren shirtless, like looking at it from the front row, like laying down across two chairs, it looked so ridiculous. And I thought that it was just because of like the position that I was in. But I remember later when I saw the memes and I was like, oh, okay, that wasn't just me laying in the chair weird. That's just what it looked like. And that kind of was symbolic of the whole movie for me. I thought that it was just because I had been in a very uncomfortable front row situation, and no, I just didn't like the movie. I feel like the second movie was sort of an attempt at like making Star Wars into an art house film, or like elevating Star Wars. And I get that there are people that want to elevate Star Wars. They want to elevate everything. They want to make it art. They want to make a statement. I do get that. I do. And I love sci-fi movies that are elevated art. I enjoy those kind of movies as well. I don't think, though, that Star Wars needs to be elevated. Star Wars is not an art series. It's not an elevated movie series. It's not any of those things. Star Wars is a retelling of an extremely rehashed, hero's journey kind of story. It is the same story that's been told by human beings going back for generations. It borrows and steals from many other stories. And it was a story that had, it was very much also a product of its time, though, when it originally came out. Because in the late 70s, there was, still sort of that, like, Luke Skywalker was like, he's a good, well-rounded boy, and, he's got the golden hair, and he's gonna go out and save the day, and the good guys are good guys, and the bad guys are bad guys. And, it was very obvious that the Imperial, the whole Imperial situation and the stormtroopers and all of that were very symbolic of Nazis. And it was a very clear cut, these are the good guys, these are the bad guys kind of thing. And I think that was a product of its time, but I also think that's part of what made people love Star Wars so much, because at the end of the day, we all do kind of want to go back to a story where the good guys are good guys and bad guys are bad guys. And I think that was part of the reason why I resonated with people so much. I felt like there was an attempt to subvert all expectations. Now, the last time that we heard people talk about subverting expectations and it was a total disaster in the big, media world was with Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones wanted to subvert expectations / that was also a case of lazy writers and people that just didn't care anymore. But they claimed that it was that they wanted to subvert expectations. And they took a series that people had spent like a decade of their life being part of, and they just like trashed it. That is its own subject for many different other videos. But the point is, when I think of people talking about subverting expectations, I think of that and how that failed. I don't think Star Wars needs to be subverted. I don't think our expectations need to be subverted. Star Wars is not high art. Star Wars is actually like the most basic art that you can possibly come up with. We don't need to elevate it. It's fine where it was. And I know all of this is like a very long rambly going into Rise of Skywalker, but with Last Jedi, I had issues with so many things. I did not like what they did with Laura Dern's character. I was so excited when they first introduced her. I'm like, oh, it's this cool purple-haired lady. I love Laura Dern. This is incredible. This is going to be great. And they faked us out. They made us think like maybe she's a bad guy because, we were deep in Poe's point of view and we're supposed to see that he has like toxic masculinity and that he's like, not listening to authority and whatever. But it didn't work because we as the audience also thought that she might be a bad guy because she was acting super shady. And it really made us play a game that I like to call bad actor or bad guy, which is just, you know, any of those situations in a movie where you're like, is this person actually being shady or is this actor just bad? But in this case, it was like bad writing or bad guy. And it turned out to be bad writing because we were in Poe's point of view. We saw her acting shady, just like he did. He did what he thought was right, and the lesson seemed to be like, slap him on the wrist, listen to authority, trust authority, don't ask questions. Again, I know all that's very rambling. I've talked about that in that other video, but that's all kind of leading up to my problems before we even got to Rise of Skywalker. The other big thing that I didn't like about The Last Jedi, aside from that side quests that did not make any sense and just I can't get on board with no matter how hard I try, was just everything with Kylo Ren. The fact that Luke behaved in such a, I don't know, I personally still find it out of character for Luke to just like start, you know, trying to kill his own nephew because he thinks he might be turning to the dark side and whatever, and the whole cowardly Luke thing, which I know is supposed to be like, oh look, your heroes are actually not that great, check it out. Didn't like that at all. I think we should let Luke Skywalker be a hero. Like, you know, we went through the original series with him, and I just think it was very disrespectful to the legacy of those characters in the original to do that. I didn't love the fact that Kylo Ren and Rey were kind of being set up to be romantic with each other, because there's such an overused trope of like guys that are mean or abusive, and it's just because they liked the girl and like the girl needs to get close enough to them and she can fix them and heal them and turn them into a good guy and whatever. And I saw them sort of heading in that direction, and I saw the fans definitely jumping onto that with the whole Reylo thing, and it worried me a little bit because that's not the message that we want to send to kids. Like, we don't want to send that message. Kylo Ren is not boyfriend material. He's not. He's a murderer. He's crazy and dangerous and has repeatedly been awful to her. He killed his own father. Like, you know, you go down the list. This guy's not boyfriend material. So going into Rise of Skywalker, my expectations were so low. They were so low. Pretty much the lowest they could possibly be. That being said, I enjoyed it slightly more than I thought I was going to while watching it. But the minute that I got home and started thinking about what I had just seen, it all started falling apart. I might make another video just like going down the list of like what actually happened in the movie and like retelling what happened in it, because I was planning to do that originally, and enough time has gone by and enough things have happened in my real life that trying to remember the like plot for plot beats of a movie that was so ridiculous is not easy at this point. I would really need to watch it again to do that. But, you know, the main big things that I can take away from it is that my number one gripe is that Princess Leia basically dies of a broken heart because of Kylo Ren. Princess Leia, my longtime greatest hero, this woman who is incredible, this woman who gets things done, this woman who is a general, she is a, you know, a rebel, she's out there doing all this cool stuff. This woman does not put up with crap from anybody. She tells Luke and Han how it's going to be from the beginning. She's not afraid of Chewie. You know, this woman is incredible. And they took away her relationship with Han and her love and marriage with Han. I don't understand why. It makes no sense at all. They had already taken that away though. They took that away. Then they killed Han. You know, they hurt her like that, and she survived that. But then, because, and I understand they had to do this, they had to do something because unfortunately Carrie Fisher passed away. And instead of that opportunity that they had in the movie before when she literally gets blown out into space and she's floating around in space, which honestly, as stupid as it was, that still would have been a better death for her character because she would have died fighting, which makes more sense to her. Instead of that happening, because they decided that they were going to have her stay alive and then you know, horrible things happened in real life and things were changed, plans were changed. Because of that, they're like, well, what do we do now? So they have her just, you know, die of a broken heart because Kylo Ren gets stabbed. And it just annoyed me so much that this wonderful woman, this wonderful character that we've all loved so much, dies because her murderous son gets stabbed, not even near her, far away, and she just dies. Why do all the women in the Star Wars saga die from broken hearts, or, you know, die because the men in their lives do something stupid? Again, that is a topic for a different video. But that was one of the big things that bugged me. Number two, why is Palpatine alive? I get that the actor is fabulous. I agree. He is. He's a delight. There's no reason for Palpatine to be alive. And the fact that he's just like floating around on this thing that basically looks like a boom mic was so ridiculous to me. I couldn't get over it. Like, it just kept pulling me out of the movie. It was so ridiculous. Why is he there? We don't get a good explanation. He's been just like pulling the strings all this time. And now he has an entire fleet of Star Destroyers, each with the power of destroying an entire planet. Really? Okay, so who built those? When did that happen? How did that happen? In the other movie, they had one and it was a big deal. Now suddenly they have like 1 million. And then the whole twist of him being Rey's grandfather, when the like reveal happened for that, they're like, you're a Palpatine. I literally just was like in the theaters. Like, I heard a couple people gasp, but I definitely heard a few other people like groan because it's so ridiculous. You had to have a twist. You had to have it be like she's in somebody's family from the series. It's so stupid. That's the most stupid choice you could have done. I would have been more prepared for Chewie to have been her father than for Palpatine to have been her grandfather. It was so ridiculous and so stupid. It just was so stupid. Then the whole fake out with Chewie dying, I hated that. It was really rude that they did that. It was just like, why did you need to do that? Made everybody all sad. You know, I was a little sad, but I was also kind of like, what? You know, and my mom was really sad. She saw it with me in theaters. I hated that they did that though. And then it was just like a fake out. And as Jenny Nicholson pointed out, did Finn just like not notice a different spaceship land and Chewie going into that spaceship? How did they sneak another spaceship there? Like, how did he not watch Chewie go into a spaceship and then see that? Like, it just makes no sense. It makes no sense. The more you think about this movie, the less sense that it makes. And then my other big problem that I remember like right off the top of my head is that people were literally jumping from one spaceship to another in space without suits on. And they were just doing it. They were like jumping onto a different spaceship and riding on top of the spaceship, and they were alive in space. I have so many questions about that because I get it, J.J. Abrams, you're used to doing movies where you can do stuff like that. But this is not Transformers. This isn't happening on Earth. This isn't jumping from train car to train car, car to car. You are in space. You're in space. How are you jumping from one spaceship to another in space and you're okay? It does not make sense. There were plenty of other things that annoyed me so much about this movie, including Rey having that little like knife thing that she just like pulled down and it perfectly lined up to show her a map of something. I don't remember. That was stupid and made no sense. The fact that Finn just like meets this woman who's woman Finn and they immediately become best friends and it's just like shoehorned in there. That was very weird. The fact that after they put Rose in that last movie, for better or worse, for most of the movie, and then they were just like, Rose who? 3 seconds. Like, why? If you were gonna spend so long putting that character in the second movie, which again, for better or worse, you can debate whether or not that made sense. I personally think they should have had her character in all 3 movies, starting with the first one, make her a main character, have her be part of the group, have it be the 4 of them. Rey, Rose, Finn, and Poe should have been like that from the beginning instead of throwing her in the second one all of a sudden and making her a main character. And then in the third one being like, Rose who, bye. She's in there for like 2 seconds. So stupid. Let's see, what else was dumb in this movie? There was so much that was dumb in this movie. Oh yeah, the fact that like Kylo Ren could just like reach through the Force and pull something physically from one place to another, that makes no sense. Like the Force doesn't teleport things. Like it moves things physically through space, but not just like boom, disappears from one place and appears somewhere else. Okay, there were so many things about this movie that were so stupid. You know, Finn saying like, I have something I need to tell you, and then we never found out what it was. What was it? You know, just so many things. The quick things that I did like, they were very few and far between, but I liked the scene toward the beginning with Finn and Poe and Chewie on the spaceship, and they're like playing and talking about how Chewie cheats and then flying the spaceship kind of dangerously. I enjoyed that part. That felt like authentic Star Wars to me. Like that was fun. What else did I actually enjoy? I enjoyed the scene with Kylo Ren when he finally like decided to be good and was basically running around in his pajamas and was fighting his like Knights of Ren. But I liked the scene with him like fighting them. I thought that was cool. I actually really enjoyed Kylo Ren for his last like 15 minutes in the movie. I was a little disappointed that after all that they put us through with him, and then they had him and Rey kiss and whatever, and then they just had him die, which that's probably something I should talk about in a separate video too, because I have so much I could say about this movie. But I liked him fighting them. I loved the lightsaber fights in this movie. I thought they were fantastic. Some of the best lightsaber fights in the entire Star Wars saga, like hands down for me. I thought they were incredible. Like they felt really real. They felt powerful. They felt dangerous. I thought that was great. Is there anything else in this movie that I enjoyed? Not that I can remember right now, honestly. There wasn't a lot about this movie that I really like came out of it and was like, yeah, I enjoyed that. So these were my rambly thoughts about Rise of Skywalker. I also, side note, hated the fact that at the end she's like taking on the Skywalker name. Just why? Yeah. So these were my rambly thoughts about Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. Probably the longest and most rambly video I've ever done on this channel, but as you can tell, I have a lot to talk about and discuss about it. What did you think of the movie though? Like, were any of those parts your least favorite parts, or did you love them? Like, very curious to hear what you have to say. How do you feel about what they did to Kylo Ren? Because again, I have to say I'm kind of disappointed after all that we went through. I was finally just starting to like him a little bit, just a little bit, and then they killed him off, thus proving that there's no way to come back from being a bad guy. There's no redemption. You will just end up dying, and everybody will be sad and miserable in Star Wars because that's just how it is, you know? Han and Leia will not end up together. Their child will murder his father, get stabbed, thus killing his mother, and then die. And the woman who I guess loved him will just go off and be alone. Yeah, it's really depressing what they've done to Star Wars. I have to say, I kind of want to just pretend like this new series doesn't exist and just go back to reading the old expanded universe. Like, can we talk about the old expanded universe sometime? Like Han and Leia being together and having Jason and Jaina and Anakin, you know, and like the Jedi Academy and all that cool stuff. Like, can we talk about that instead? I want those. I hope those movies exist in like an alternate world. And if they do, I kind of want to go into that alternate world and see those movies instead, because they would have been way better. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Go check out the playlists of other videos like this or about other topics that you might be interested in. And yeah, thank you so much for getting through all of this.